This meeting is being recorded.
Welcome everyone to the July koha-US general meeting. There is a link to the agenda in the chat. And do we have any announcements? All right. So the first thing in our agenda is a report of the results for the bylaws amendment that we had, which was to define the officer responsibilities and establish a koha-US admin position. We had 23 unanimous votes. So that passed, and Christopher will be updating the website soon with the changes to the bylaws. Is there anything else on that topic? The next thing on there says bylaws amendment for revision of development workflow. And I think maybe we should have put bylaws amendment for establishing that only members of koha-US could submit a development proposal for the development committee to consider. And I think we've still got some talking about the actual revision of the development workflow and whether that needs to be a vote or not. But we should be sending out a another bylaws vote for limiting development proposals to koha-US members. So look for that soon. Anything else on that anybody wants to say? Go ahead.
I'll just comment on that. The purpose of that change in the bylaws is because we want to have more we want to limit the proposals to members, because members are deciding on the developments that we work on. It's only fitting that the members are the ones that get to submit those proposals. Otherwise, anybody can just submit those proposals. And part of the benefit of membership is being able to help steer the flow and direction of our development process. And if we are letting outside forces participate in that, then it kind of deviates from that. So we're just trying to make everything coincide with the purpose of koha-US and its development portion, and give more of that power to the membership.
Thank you. That's a good background explanation. Any questions or comments on that? Okay, so the next thing is an opportunity for somebody. For a long time, Lizette Shear had been the leader of our koha-US System Administration Special Interest Group, and she has gone on to another position with a non-koha library. We're going to miss Lizette and all her contributions. So now we have a vacancy in the chair for the System Administration SIG. And this would be a wonderful opportunity for someone to get more involved with koha-US. You do not have to be a system administration expert. It's just chairing the meeting, being interested in talking about things like reports, settings, we talk about all kinds of things in there. Sometimes someone will say, I don't know if this is really system administration or not, but it doesn't really matter. We're just talking about Koha and how to make it run better and sharing tips and tools. So if you or someone you know would like to chair that system administration group, it currently meets on the second Tuesday of the month at 10. It does not have to stay there if, you know, it turned out that you want to get involved, but that time doesn't work. We could certainly look at what we could do. So if you're interested, please email either info@koha-US or president@koha-US. And we'd love to welcome somebody new into doing that.
And I'll just add, it really does not have to be somebody that is well-versed in system administration. The position, we just need somebody to coordinate it and lead it. Somebody that can ask questions, and if you don't know things, that's perfectly all right. I mean, what a great place to ask questions about things that you don't know, and have the group answer those questions. But we just need somebody to coordinate it. That's the chief responsibility in this.
Okay, the next thing listed is discussion of future conference formats. So as you know, we have a Koha-Con conference coming up, but we wanted to have a discussion on online conference versus in-person conference, hybrid conference. Christopher kind of brought this one up. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, back in, I can't remember if it was 17 or 18, when we had the conference here at the Coeur d'Alene Public Library. I know that we did a hybrid conference where we did in person and online. Most of our attendance was in person at the time. So we've been maintaining a format where we've done hybrid. Since COVID, we've seen a huge shift over to remote attendance. While, that is great, we're still getting people involved in the conferences. One of the main ideas of having a conference is to get away from this type of format and environment and actually meet each other face to face. There are a lot of benefits of getting together in person versus being online. And my concern is that we're dwindling down in person attendance, and I want to encourage Koha-US to encourage our membership and others to try to show up in person if they can, simply because there's a lot of benefit of seeing people face to face versus being online. I'm talking about something right now, and we don't get as much interaction online as we do in person. People are more willing to take risks in person. People are more willing to get engaged and involved in discussions and ask questions, and you network more off to the side when you are at a conference in person than you would just attending online. So I talked to Barbara about encouraging the group to attend in person if at all possible. I know that there's a huge savings with travel by doing things remote, but we're selling everybody short by, offering the remote portion and not encouraging people to come in person. It's also an opportunity to get away from the norm. It's an opportunity to get a fresh perspective that you don't get necessarily online. You might get some ideas online, but it offers a whole new perspective. It immerses you in a different environment, which is really beneficial, and gives you an opportunity to see people in a different light other than behind the camera light and behind the camera. And sometimes we don't even get that. I mean, you can see from the meeting that half of our attendants don't even have cameras or do not have their cameras on. We really lose that connection with our remote attendants. And so my question to Barbara in all of this, other than, just encouraging people to try and show up in person if possible, is to whether or not we want to continue this format in future conferences. We're not going to change anything this year, but the question is, next year, do we want to consider doing our conference in person only? And then, of course, we'll have our recordings. We can still record things and show things after the fact. That's always going to be a possibility. But do we want to move back to a format that encourages people to show up in person? We had a lot of attendance in the beginning, and it's sad to see the numbers dwindle. Well, that's all I have to say.
So what are people's thoughts? I know we've got a lot of challenges because of travel budgets and COVID and all those kinds of things, but we don't want to lose the benefit of the in-person connection that can happen. So just wanted to throw it out there. What do people think about in-person conferences versus online conference? What are some of your challenges for, why do you choose one over the other? Just any open discussion thoughts anybody has.
Well, I am not going to be as eloquent as Christopher. I haven't written down notes if he has, or I'm not spontaneously eloquent like he is. I agree completely with what Christopher says. However, yes, there was going to be however, I think we need to consider that for a lot of people, the choice is either attending online or not attending at all. I know my institution took a huge hit in my finances in the last couple of years, and my household income went down by about 40%. There's not a whole lot of money for travel. And KohaCon has decided to go hybrid. I do agree that it might be a possibility to record everything and make it online later, but leave a couple of interactive things like a keynote speech or a couple of discussions live online. But as I say, there are a lot of people who just traveling to a conference is currently out of the question as much as they'd like to. And it's a long walk to Kansas from DC, which is about my travel.
And I see in the chat that Kristen says, I don't know that I would be able to attend the conferences if they weren't virtual. my library system would like me to prioritize the state conference. And I know that's a thing too. Sometimes there are different entities that, you know, they want you to only have in-state travel. They don't want you to go out of state, or out of state requires a lot more, you know, requesting and approving and that kind of thing. And Christie says, agrees that the on-person conference is ideal, but some people still hesitant in the pandemic. And I think that's part of the thing, is that we're not past this pandemic really yet. It's waxing and waning, and there's a new variant that is taking a strong hold. And in my personal life, I have 3 people that I know recently that have had it or have it now, and that's different than it had been several months ago. So lots of factors playing into this.
I think I'll agree that I want to get back in person too, Christopher, but I think it's too soon. I mean, I think it's too soon to completely cut out the virtual element. Last year, I wasn't able to go to the conference, so I got to sit on the other end of it. And I will say it feels like when you're at home, you're watching, you're a spectator, you're not participating. So I don't know if that's more what we should be focusing on, is making the hybrid more interactive so that everyone feels like they're there. Or maybe we need to consider, we did Koha-thon one year, which was great, where everyone was online. So maybe we need to consider like a dual conference setup, where we have one in the fall that's in person and people can stream it, whatever, and one in the spring that's all online, and we focus all our energy towards making that an interactive experience where we can pick up some of that networking and the stuff that we get in person, but we can't really focus on when we've got our attention split. An idea.
And I know that we tried to do after we had the Koha-thon the first time, and then we tried the second year, and I think, you know, we were willing to do it, and we got, I think, 3 proposals. And so then we ended up, you know, scrapping it because it didn't seem like there was enough interest to do it, which was unfortunate. And of course, like Christopher said, nothing is changing this year. This is all just future discussion, and we have no idea where we will be next year between, you know, July and September. Let's see, what other comments do we have? Fred says watching from home is even more exhausting than being there in person, and I can agree with that sometimes. And I find myself sometimes multitasking, so I'm not completely engaged, and I find that I just, you know, I don't remember it as well, whereas in person it'll be like, well, I know I talked to Rhonda or I talked to Jason and they told me about this thing and I wrote it down, and I'm going to go home and I'm going to investigate that, and I don't get that same feeling from an online. And Kristen, yeah, so it's more exhausting when your employer might also want you to be popping in and out of presentations to do regular library work as well. And I think that's part of it too, is it's kind of like, well, I'd like to watch this, but now there's a crisis at the information desk and I have to have to go deal with that, you know. Yeah, so oh, an INFP thing versus an ESTJ. Yes, I agree with those things. So this is just, I think, maybe an ongoing discussion. We have no idea what will happen for next year. But I think, not only have we seen, attendance go down in person, but we also have dropped in koha-US membership. And we want to sustain this organization. And I think that kind of goes along with part of this, that we want to maintain a strong membership, have an engaging in-person conference. So we're searching for how do we do that in this climate of pandemic and inflation and budget cuts and all these things that are affecting us.
I appreciate everybody's feedback on this too. Nothing is set in stone. Nothing. We have no idea where we're going next year. We may go a completely different route with how we might do this, but it's good to feel out where our people are at and figure out what we can do so that we can boost participation, whether it be in person or online. And we want to increase membership numbers because it's not so much about the numbers, it's about what we're doing together as a community to pool our resources with our learning material and with the funds that we can pull together to do developments. We are working on developments to better the system, and that's a great accomplishment. Where we might not be able to fund a development on our own, as a group we're making things happen, and that's important. And we can't do that well when we don't have the people involved, whether it's volunteering on the committee or just becoming a member to help those funds along. And the membership is not huge, and we make that go a long way. And so I'm hoping that we can find a way to boost participation with our members and the community.
I just wanted to share my experience. When we first got on, sorry, I got somebody in the back here. When we first started with Koha, I went to a conference, and I think that in-person conference was really, it was so valuable for me to meet people like Barbara and Christopher and John, and I think Jason were you at? Yeah, you were at Monterey, right? Yeah. Fred was there with his chicken, and it was just such a great experience, because then when I got back home, I knew that Barbara was just 3 hours up the road or so from me. And, we've been able to talk and share ideas. I've toured her library. I conned her into becoming president of koha-US. So there's always that, but I can't overemphasize enough the importance of the in-person experience. It's the lunches in between sessions at noon. It's the evening activities where you brainstorm. It's the opportunities to talk with like the bywater developers, and find out what's going on. It's just those kinds of things where you can pull somebody aside and say, hey, I saw your presentation and I have some ideas, or questions and ideas I wanted to float past you. That's so important. I also understand budgetary restrictions and just, right now, the hassle of traveling anywhere, so I would strongly encourage, when it comes time for the proposals for each conference this year, we didn't have much, in the way of proposals for locations for conferences, but trying to get it in your state, put in a proposal and get it in your state so that we can get these, moving around. We were kind of stuck on the West Coast there for a long time. We've now moved to the Midwest. But if we can, rotate around the country a little bit, we'll open up opportunities for other people to join. If, for us, going out of state is, triple the paperwork. But, it's something that's definitely worthwhile doing. And I just wanted to share that because the people that I've met at the conferences are super helpful connections, and they're all great people too. That's the other thing, it's so fun to meet people from all over the country. And my son and daughter-in-law went on vacation to Coeur d'Alene, and they brought me back a Coeur d'Alene t-shirt, and I think of Christopher every time I wear it. So there you go. My 2 cents.
Yeah, like Rhonda said, we've been in the West. We kind of moved to the middle of the country, and we would love to go Northeast, Southeast, so hosting a conference is a lot of work, but it's also, really great to bring people into your own location. And, so we'll be later in the year, we'll be opening up proposals for next year's conference location. So you might think about it. And there was some discussion in the chat about whether koha-US has international members, and we have had a few from, John says Canada, New Zealand, Malaysia. You don't have to be in the US to be a koha-US member. We are open to anyone. We welcome anyone. We would love to have you. Okay, so let's move into committee reports. So conference. So we're about 2 months out from our KohaCon International Conference in Lawrence, Kansas, between September 20th and 23rd. If you go to the koha-US website, there is a link at the top for KohaCon 22. You will find the schedule there. You will find the registration form to register to attend. There is information on the 2 venues that we're going to be having the conference at, as well as hotel information. So a lot of info you can get just by looking at the KohaCon 22 website. Okay, I think last I checked, we had 82 people registered, and I think we're up to 30 in-person attendees right now. And I know some of our presenters that are going to be there haven't actually registered. So I know there's a few more for certain people. But even if you can't come in person, please register, because that gives us an idea of, how many people are really participating. It may or may not have an impact on our AV and our recording and streaming. I don't know anything about that, but it may be important to sort of know for those reasons as well. Yeah, I'm talking about you, Fred. You need to register.
For outing you, Fred. Shame on you.
Let's see. And then what else do people want to know about the conference while I'm sitting here thinking about if there's other things to update you on?
I mentioned in the chat, we did update the schedule online too, to include the descriptions. I know that was a topic
Cool.
that was coming up. So descriptions are in there, so it gives you a little bit more information. I put
Nice.
descriptions where we had descriptions. There were a couple that didn't have them, but
Okay.
that'll help.
All right. That's good. Other questions?
I can, this is a comment. I meant to send an email. We need to be done at Lawrence Public Library by 5. We need to be on our way out the door at 5 on Thursday and Friday.
Okay.
I will add that board is having discussion, conference committees having discussion. We are changing things up a little bit this year and trying something new. We are doing some recognitions this year that we don't normally do, and of members and people in the organization. We just want to be able to recognize people that have stuck it out and have contributed. So be on the watch for that. I'm not going to say much more than that, but we just want to be able to give a little bit back and show our appreciation to those that have been involved. So watch for that.
Let's see. Yeah, I think that's all I had on the conference, unless somebody else has any other questions about things.
George has said that he would personally greet every single person that comes in person.
No. I've kind of said the opposite. I'm going to show up a half hour late, just like I did for this meeting, and leave a half an hour early every day.
Okay, so we do have some development from the development committee, some good news. So Christopher, can you update us on that?
Well, it's a mixed bag. Okay. First of all, our developer, again, I'm kind of leaving some pieces out because I'm not going to drag somebody through the mud, but our developer, we've cut our developer loose because of some issues. They're not accustomed to the workflow in the Koha community, and it wasn't meshing with the way they do work. And this was being dragged out a lot longer than it should have been. So we have cut them loose. We have paid them for we're paying them for their time. And we are still recognizing them for the work that they did do. However, Owen, who's on our committee, has picked up the slack and submitted the last patch for the development that we're working on, so that QA process could happen. That being said, I saw some movement on the patch this morning. I noticed that QA is talking about some issues with the method of how the coding was done. This is one of the pitfalls of bringing somebody, a new developer, into the mix. You know, they weren't willing to go through the learning process completely, and I think it shot them in the foot. And also, you know, we spent a lot more time on this than we could have if we had had a seasoned developer doing the code. So while it's hit QA, I think it may have failed the QA because of some issues, and Owen is fitting in some time to help follow up on some stuff, but there's only so much that he can do. There is another group involved in the sponsorship with this. They provided some of the patches, and perhaps maybe they will jump in and help update some of that code. I mean, the thing works perfectly as we expect. It just, you know, the Koha community has some concerns about how some of it works. So hopefully we can get that straightened out. But and we made some progress in the last week once we cut the developer loose, and that's a huge thing. Hopefully we can iron this out quickly and get it done sooner than later. Our previous development, just as a reminder, we've had a previous development from last year that or the previous year that was dragging on a bit. It went through the QA, it passed. It is going to be released in, I think, I can't remember if it's 22.5 or 22.11, but it's slated for a release. So that one has passed and is on its way to you. So be on the watch for that. I think that's it for now.
So that actually is good progress because we're moving forward. And I think we owe Owen a huge thanks for his time and his patience and all of his abilities that he has to, figure these things out. And Christopher has put in a lot of time on this as well. And it's been a learning process, as things often are. So it's been good. So we are up to Education Committee.
That's me, but I wasn't at the last meeting. I was on vacation. And I think Christopher ran that meeting, right? Or did anybody show up? I don't know. I don't have a clue.
There were a few of us, and I wasn't even prepared to speak. I thought I wrote the minutes, right? I was expecting. I guess I was expecting you to read the minutes, but
I guess the minutes say Jason, Christopher, Kristen, O, and Fred attended, and but I don't know what you talked about. I guess I'm looking at the minutes here. It looks like there was discussion about the website.
Is that the meeting
and-
where we designed the brochure?
no.
No,
Oh,
that
okay.
was
Never
a
mind.
couple meetings ago.
Never mind then.
Sorry, I'm trying to get up to where the notes are so that I can help you.
There was the usual discussion. These meetings are usually broken up into half of it is about website development and half of it is about content creation. And it looks like there was discussion about the website, any updates since the last meeting, stuff about the navigation menu. Looks like Jason made a few changes, and most of the pages are now linked on the navigation menu. There was a discussion a few months ago about breaking out the stuff on the Koha share, and there's a note here that says we're not sure if that's necessary anymore. A Koha community page, Lauren wasn't at the meeting, and so that was tabled until next time. And there's some redundant links that are going to be removed from the About page. And the mailing list will have its own landing page, it looks like. As far as content development, looks like we're going to develop a survey about finding out from membership what areas we need in content. What do you guys want to see us do? What kind of content should we have on the website? We need to add MarcEdit or move MarcEdit around on the software list. And there are some other softwares that are used that need to be added to the list of softwares that are helpful to use with Koha. Then there were some updates about the Koha skills collaborators. And there's a note here that says these will be done by July. Webinars, videos, Fred and Lauren have been working on one. It looks like Fred says it's mostly done, but I'm not sure. Oh, it's about setting up like Koha on your own with the Ubuntu scripts. And there's a link to a video. I'll put the link in the chat box.
I think what I was talking about was part 2, where
Part 2 of
to
that.
the administrative screen. And yeah, the sound, so I did this in segments, and one of the segments I need to change the sound just to make it a little louder. And I think the ending
Okay.
needs to be improved. Not the
There
Tom
was
Lehrer song.
There's talk about doing some more with the GitHub. We've been talking about doing a video about how to use GitHub, what is GitHub. And I see my name in a couple of these. So library carpentry. I wasn't at the meeting, so there's a lot of stuff with my name on it.
What
This
happens when
says,
you don't
ask
attend?
George to review and see if this is worth having on the site. Terrific every other Thursday training videos, cart and batch deleting. It looks like are requests for things that we should do videos about.
Those are Fred's. You can ignore those.
Well, I wasn't going to say that out loud. I was just going to ignore them.
Yeah, if you want to delete a lot of stuff, you just put it in a cart and do batch delete, and everything will be gone, including the item records and the bib records.
Batch deleting
faster.
from the cart deletes the items and the.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
It can be dangerous, but if you're trying to search for things one by one, I have to do with Rittenhouse. It saves a lot of time.
There are a couple things here that say on hold till November. And template toolkit reference sheet. Christopher will try to look at the template toolkit reference sheet. That was one that was originally assigned to Lizette, but Lizette is no longer working at a library, so she's not going to be much less using Koha. So Lizette's moved on to bigger and better things. So well, I don't know about better, but
Definitely better.
circulation, there were two comments about the SIGs. Circulation, we need to kind of try and keep an eye on that. The last meeting fizzled out because there was no leader. Apparently
And this month we rebounded, so
that's
good.
true.
We
I
have
was
good
at the
yeah.
I was at the July circulation meeting, and there were a lot of people there. I don't remember what it was in June, but I remember getting there late and the room was empty. System administration needs a new leader. Jason will keep it up and running in the interim. And our next education meeting is Wednesday, July 20th at 11:30 Eastern, 10:30 Central, 9:30 Mountain, 8:30 Pacific. So it's pretty good for recapping a meeting I wasn't at.
All righty. So Finance Committee report, John.
I won't go into a lot of detail with regard to the actual financial status because everybody's got the report and sees we continue to remain viable. The big news is that we're now beginning to incur our expenses for the international event being held in Lawrence, and we're going to be under budget for the marketing expenses that are associated with our exhibition space at ALA. The exhibition space at ALA is considered to be a success by both Fred and I, who were the two people that were staffing it. We had lots of very good conversations with a number of different people, some Koha libraries, some not Koha libraries, some just kind of curious as to what the whole thing was about. And it was money well spent. It's not something we need to do every year, maybe once every 3 years or so. It would be worth considering doing again, but it was definitely a very worthwhile endeavor. And we got the word out. We put ourselves out there as a user group. We were sure to clarify whenever it was presented to us the illusion that we were actually part of Bywater, which we are not. That was the thing we made very clear. In fact, the opening sentence that both Fred and I used, which was slightly different for the both of us, but both of them focused on the fact that we are a user group. We're not a support vendor, and that was something else that was a pretty common misconception. We handed out a number of brochures, business cards. There's a little bit of interest in additional contact. I've got those people's names and numbers, and I will be reaching out to them separately. it was a really good experience. And even though it took us 2 extra years to get there, I'm glad it was something that we did. So that's it for the Finance Committee. The numbers are boring. That's not the exciting stuff. The exciting stuff was what happened at the exhibit hall and how glad I am that we decided to pursue that. Any questions?
Just one thing to add, our table was right next to the table of girls who code. So when appropriate, I sort of insinuated myself into the discussion saying, if you're looking for a really interesting open source coding project, you can download the source code for free and tinker with it. I don't know if that's going to happen.
Well, a big thank you to John and Fred for staffing our booth. That took a lot of time, of their personal time. So.
And Fred really did the yeoman's work there. I was drawn between my real responsibilities for what I was, being there for. And I was not at the exhibit hall manning the table too often, maybe only a total of around 8 hours or 10 hours across the days. Fred was there very consistently and really provided a lot of the coverage, and he did an outstanding job in his representation of us.
Thank you, Fred. Okay, well, we have about 10 minutes left for just open discussion of anything, issues, questions, bugs, anything anybody would like to bring up.
I just put a bug in the chat box. This is 7021.
Good
This
Lord,
is
how
to-
old is this?
Yeah, it's to add a category to the add patron category to the statistics table. The statistics table has a whole ton of stuff about item data, and it's got the borrower number in it, but it doesn't have any. It'd be nice if it had the borrower category in there too. So, and it's been signed off, and it's been in QA, and it's failed QA. I mean, it's been around the block, but I thought I wanted to bring it to everybody's attention because it looks like it's closing in on being. It says it's signed off again, but this is one that I'd like to see in there. So if you keep an eye on it, if you add yourself to the CC list, that'd be helpful, and make any comments, because I think it would be really helpful. Right now, if you want to get any borrower category information in a report on statistics, you have to link out to through the borrower number. But if the borrower gets deleted, if the borrower's category changes, then that data becomes unreliable. And if it was just stored in there, then it would be consistent. So.
Well, I want to just bring everyone's attention to this particular bug because it is a updating of the staff interface. And this is probably something as this work progresses, this is probably something you want to be aware of. You may want to make comments. They had a sandbox up for a while, but it died after about 2 or 3 hours. I got a peek. There are a few screenshots on this bug if you go to that link. But I don't know what the timing on this is or anything. I know that the work is active, and it would be worth your while to follow this, because this is, staff interface, and most of it is just a update of the look, not really the behavior. But there could be some things there that affect how your staff works.
There is a slight workflow change, particularly with how the tools are laid out on the menu and the search bar. So there's a slight impact. It might mean an extra click here or there. There was comments early on that particular one. About that, there were some people that were really concerned about having to do extra clicks to do what they could do before. So anybody that looks at this should consider, those workflows and extra clicks and comment where they can on that, because I'd hate to see, it's nice to see improvements on an interface, but it's frustrating if it adds more work and adds more clicks to your process.
And I think this is one of those kind of things is people really need to be aware of it and be involved in looking at these different changes. So it's not the kind of thing where you attend your neighborhood meeting and you say, no one told me. So get involved in this particular bug so you can see what's being proposed as these changes. And then Christopher, you put in a bug. You want to talk about that one?
Well, actually, there's a comment here in the chat box from Christie. Why are they updating the interface? The new icons look a bit confusing. I don't know. Did they really address that in the bug? Why? Does anybody have a good answer for that?
I don't know if there's anything in the bug, but I know previous to that, and I can't remember how I got it, but an email came to me about, I don't know, is it BibLead that's doing this work? I think that they had put money forward to update the staff interface because the display has not been updated in a really long time. And it was looking dated, and that's all I remember. So if anybody else has any remembrance.
It lacks an explanation for sure. The one thing that I see with the picture of the main page, which that's the link that I sent you. It's not a new bug. I just sent a link to the actual image screenshot. Just looking at it, they simplified the buttons, and my guess would be so that it is more form factor friendly for smaller devices. If you're doing something like on a phone or whatever on on the spot, there's been some improvement with the current version, or the I think it's 2111. They did some improvement with the buttons, but the buttons still kind of bleed out depending on the format and resolution that you're in. So it's not perfectly responsive regarding the buttons. So I'm thinking that's why they're doing that. But I could be completely mistaken on their motive on this. But they don't have any explanation, so one can only guess.
And I do believe there was, from the previous email I got a long time ago, that there was talk about, like, if you look at that link, they're using the green koha symbol, and there's a lot of green as the theme for this. And I think part of it was trying to have an updated sort of koha branded color added to what the staff interface looks like. But that's all I really know.
In an earlier email, they sent out this link that I put with the presentation. So there's a few more screenshots there, but it again doesn't really explain, other than it seems to me like they're just trying to modernize it. It's needed a refresh. So they're trying to like create a style guide and conform to it and that sort of thing. But there's more to look at there.
I would hope that this is going to be a choice of a theme rather than we're just going to change it all. I hope, because Koha never really had that option. It would be nice if it did have some options, to pick the layout that you like the best, that fits your needs. But I don't even know that if that's going to be a choice or if it's going to be just an overhaul.
And yeah, that last link that Jason put in is the first I had heard about an update to the staff interface, and it has lots of screenshots, and there were lots of comments on different things if you view that presentation, whatever.
I would encourage everybody to take a peek at it and and weigh in on your thoughts on it or ask questions, because you know, if you don't ask questions, these things just kind of roll forward, and you know, it's important for them to know what you want.
Well, we're almost at the top of our hour. Any closing comments from anyone?
Well, if you want to do a fundraising at the conference, I could do autographed, your picture with the chicken autographed. And I'd be willing to contribute maybe the first 10 or so out of pocket.
Well, for the people that are on the conference committee, we are meeting next. So stay in the room and we will transition over to the conference committee meeting. And thank you to everyone who attended our general meeting today. Our next general meeting is August 10th.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.